Andrew-san,
Yeah.
come here.
Yes, Mr. Justin.
You see this rope?
It's a rope, yes.
You see this can?
It's a can, yeah.
You talk to the rope through the can.
Talk to the rope through the can, okay. Rope to can.
Rope the can.
Rope to can.
Rope
Got
the
it.
can.
Got it. I'll just do this for another 10 hours.
Hey,
But when will I learn about podcasting?
you will now learn about our new episode of Nothing New, a remake podcast. Hello, I am one of your hosts, Justin Quizon, and with me is my student.
Hi, I'm Andrew Linde. That's,
It's the majority. That's the most I was like, I've done Miyagi so much when I was younger,
mhm.
and part of me was like a little afraid to do it. Then part of me was like, no, just do it.
I was like, Justin isn't going to make me be Miyagi.
No. Clearly.
I'm not going to do that.
No.
No.
There was a small part of me that thought, like, wouldn't it be funny if I was Kreese instead? Like,
Oh
throw
my
you
God.
all off. But no. We are, of course, talking about The Karate Kid, 1984.
And the Karate Kid from 2010.
But before we go on and, allow ourselves to proceed to talk about multiple hours of untraditional martial arts training, we do have a special guest in this dojo. Please, may I introduce to our listeners our guest today, Mitch Narito. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?
We're doing good, all things considering. It's
The world is burning around us.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, the world is burning. I've now watched all the Karate Kids.
L'chaim.
Dude, I love the Karate Kid franchise. Like even the Cobra Kai, like everything. I have the DVDs, everything.
I've the same. I've literally seen all of them. I'm a big Cobra Kai fan. And so this is going to be an interesting talk.
And I feel like the student for real. It's
You haven't done Cobra Kai yet, right?
No, I don't have time for TV. I just
get
can't
that.
make the time for TV, and I didn't watch it when it was new, so it's a lot to catch up on. So.
I will speak of why I love it later too at a different time. But until before we get into it, let's folks talk about everyone's first exposure to the original Karate Kid film. Mitch, when did you first see the 1984 film for the first time?
When I was a kid, I remember. I don't know exactly what age I was. I know I was young. I just remember watching it with my family, and my favorite thing was Mr. Miyagi. I always wanted my own Mr. Miyagi. Like I was like, I saw the Karate Kid, and I was like, I want an old Japanese man to take me under his wing and show me the ropes and teach me about life.
Who doesn't?
Sadly, I never had a Mr. Miyagi growing up, so I've turned myself into Mr. Miyagi. So I've been looking for a young protege to beat up people in the valley.
If you are that young protege who needs a mentor, please
I will train you.
Yeah. Follow Mitch on his social media. He'll train you.
Just send me a DM and just be like, I'm looking for an older Asian man to be my tutor for the martial arts. And I got you.
Oh, shit.
That's something to aspire to. Yeah.
I agree. That's what I aspire to be.
No, let me put it this way. Like, I was such a fan of the original. Like, when I found out what Pat Morita actually sounded like, I immediately thought, I was like, no, that's not right. Like, I was like, that's not Mr. Miyagi.
It's like, no. Who's this dude who sounds like he's like just a chill regular guy?
Yeah. No, like when I found out like Pat Morita had like a southern accent, I was like, what? What? This is wild.
Oh my god. Andrew, how about you? What was your first exposure to the original movie?
I must have seen it, and I don't have a strong memory. The memory that I have of Karate Kid is how it's referenced through everything, and especially How I Met Your Mother, a show that I followed so closely. And then as soon as it was done, I said, well, that was a waste. But they had a running gag of Barney, the Neil Patrick Harris character, thought he had Karate Kid backwards.
Yeah.
He thought that Johnny was the good guy, and he thought it was like a tragedy.
Yeah.
And I think Zabka even showed up, right?
Oh,
I think
Zabka
you did showed up, yeah, in the show. But that is a stronger memory for me. It's like the legacy of Karate Kid rather than actually watching the movie. I'm sure I watched it at some point, but I don't have a strong memory of that. It's really just everyone referencing it, and there was, someone would be wearing a Cobra Kai t-shirt or something, and it's like, oh yeah, Karate Kid, I love it. And I just didn't have a strong connection to it. So this is my biggest exposure to Karate Kid. Yeah.
You did the classic Linde deep dive.
Yeah. I had never seen 2 through 4, and now I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some in the franchise where I'm like, I don't know what happened here.
I love 2. 2 was a delight.
No, I love 2.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about 2, but that sounds like its own podcast. But Karate Kid was a big staple for me growing up. My brother was a massive Karate Kid fan as well. Like, he had the album on vinyl.
Oh wow.
When it came out, because that's how records were out in vinyl. And so my brother was a huge Karate Kid fan. Like, he would whenever it was on TV, he would stop what he's doing and it's like, okay, we're watching this. And he knew that movie very intimately, whereas I always loved it because obviously I loved martial art movies. I of course loved Pat Morita, and then Mitch, I was just like you when I went, Pat Morita does not sound like that. And I watched all the movies, even the ones I begrudgingly go, like the next Karate Kid. And 1 and 2 were very big on me. 3 is, well, 3
is 3.
3 is 3.
3 is 3. And again, I'll say some weird personal crosshairs of Karate Kid in my life. If you're a regular filmmaker, Asian American filmmaker or performer in the Los Angeles area, you probably most likely had at least a Tamlyn Tomita, exposure experience. She's very active in the community. And, probably very realistically, if you saw Karate Kid Part 2 at a certain age, you probably realized, oh, I like girls now.
I like her.
Very easy to kind of crush on Tamlyn Tomita. FYI, even till today, if you see her now. But I remember I graduated film school in 2007. I shot, and I had of course I did a Filipino comedy, martial arts comedy as my graduation film. And so it played at the VC Film Festival at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival in 2008. And it screened, and in front of all things, a feature film that year. And I found out, I was nervous as hell, obviously, because it's my short film was going to be in a theater. It's going to be in a packed audience. And then I found out that Tamlyn Tomita is in the audience. And I literally went, I'm not sitting down. And I just, I could not, because there's a Karate Kid reference in my short. And I'm like, I am not going to stay in my seat knowing Tamlyn Tomita is watching my short film that references one of her big movies. So and I've seen her since a couple of times. I've actually said hi to her and congratulate her on certain things here and there. And funny enough, the last time I saw her, friend of the show, Law Sharma, who was a guest on our Christmas Carol episode, and he did another one, or was that the only one?
I think that's the only one so far.
Okay, just checking. Yeah. He invited me to go to the Cobra Kai season 6 premiere, which I went with him. And as we're waiting outside, we saw a really nice car step in front of the venue while we were getting ready to go in. And out comes Tamlin Tomita. And of course, it makes sense. I get it. But then she like looked at me in law and had that look of, I know you too, which I'm like, that's impossible. Because here's the thing, I've technically met her a couple times, but in that little like hi, and then like it's like no impact conversation afterwards.
The LA meeting.
I've done it many a times. And because she had that zeroed in conversation and looked at us with a very warm hi, and we're like, hi? And she went up to me and went, we've met, right? And I went, holy shit. Kept my cool, but I'm like, yeah, a couple times. I've done a couple of film festivals and etc. And I actually talked to you a little bit at the Ultraman premiere last year. She's like, that's right. And I've talked to you. Yep, I've interviewed you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool. And she was super sweet, super nice. And she went into, like, her publicist then went, oh, Miss Tomita, come in. And said, oh, well, okay, guys, have a great night. And we're like, oh, yeah, you too. And there's a small bit of our brain went, whoa. We just hung out with Kumak. So anyway.
Do you know how many times I've dreamt of this moment, Tamlin?
How many times guys saw that scene of her with the tea ceremony? Anyway, there's a lot of Karate Kid 2 talk for us, mostly talking about Karate Kid 1.
Yeah, we got to turn back the clock. We got to start with a young boy moving from New Jersey to California.
The movie, directed by John G. Avildsen.
The director of Rocky.
Let's just go ahead and call this out. They know.
Yeah.
They even like history goes that like this film was jokingly called in the studio Rocky Kid or Junior Rocky.
Yeah.
Or Baby Rocky.
Yeah.
Oh.
For rightful reasons. It's another sports film about a underdog, etc. But the movie does start with Daniel LaRusso and his mom moving from New Jersey to sunny California, and this very long opening credit sequence, which I really liked. I feel like we don't really just let the movie. We don't really open movies like this anymore, where it's just like a nice score. Get some character stuff in there, get you in the mood in the film. Like the score is done by Bill Conti, also Rocky. And it kind of does end with the sequence opening. Sequence ends with them going to the new home in LA, which I forgot what exactly where is that. It was
Reseda.
Thank you, Reseda.
He loves talking about he's from Reseda.
The Valley.
Is that in 2 or 3? There's like a kid that comes up to him and is like, I'm from Reseda, and he goes, you're from Reseda? I'm from Reseda. Like,
yeah. It was 2, beginning of 2.
And then I mean that opening does have a funny joke payoff where the whole ride, Daniel does not want to move to California.
Right,
and the mom is talking about how good the places where they're moving, including a pool. You think someone who comes from a colder climate to a warmer climate, yeah, a pool sounds like that's a bonus. They get there, the pool is empty.
Yeah.
No water in the pool. And the mom has the line of like, she's like, don't mention the pool. Don't. Like, that's funny.
I want to call attention to one character that's in this opening sequence. And it's the kid next door named Freddie. Freddie, you start off strong, buddy. You start off as a kid who looked like he was open to making new friends. This new guy from out of town. Like, he looks like he needs a friend. So Freddie in his pink t-shirt really is open to Daniel within 5 seconds. It's like, hey man, we're going to hang out. Is that karate? That's cool. And then Freddie abandons him.
Freddie does abandon him.
Like, you know what's funny? To go jump into Cobra Kai a little bit, almost, I will say every big character, even small character in Cobra Kai, and from the Karate Kid franchises, gets like some sort of return or a reference or even a redemption in the Cobra Kai show. Not Freddie. Because Freddie is dead to us.
He doesn't come back?
I'm gonna spoil that right now. Freddy is dead to us.
He had every opportunity to be friends with the All Valley champion, but he messed up.
He could have easily been like, yeah, Johnny sucks, dude, but I got your back. No. Fuck you, Freddy.
I was where I didn't have such a strong memory, so watching it this time, I was like, "Oh, is Freddy gonna turn on him?" I was waiting for Freddy to turn,
No.
and then he just abandons him and never shows up for the rest of the
Which
movie.
is, in my opinion, worse.
Kinda, yeah, yeah.
Mitch, any thoughts on the big beach scene that kind of follows up like pretty quickly after this? This is also the introduction of a Mr. Johnny Lawrence.
All I know is, okay, so watching it as a kid, I didn't really think about it, but like I was born and raised in Los Angeles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like seeing the beach scenes, like, and I was like, the thing that tripped me out was like, these kids have bikes like that, like they have like dirt bikes. Where do I get a dirt bike? I was like, I want a dirt bike. I want to be chilling on the beaches. And I'm like, where? Like, isn't Reseda like inland more? I'm like, how far is this beach? Where did they travel to? This is not Reseda because Reseda has no beaches. It's in the middle of the valley. So these guys are like, I'm pretty sure, like that was like I didn't put that together until I got older. But I was like, hold on, geographically, this makes no sense. Like, where are you guys? You guys might as well be in Malibu, and then.
Classic, the way that movies portray LA, where everything's just 10 minutes of riding a bike,
Yeah,
and you're there.
and everything is
Like-
LA.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you rode like a dirt bike from the valley to the beach, that would take like hours, like how are these kids paying for gas at this time, like
I get it that they're the rich kids, but they can't clearly. Come on.
doesn't one of them have like one of those big boom boxes too? I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Like- so I'm just like, okay, so you're riding from the valleys to the beach, and you got this big boom box on your dirt bike. Like, how do you transport all this stuff? I don't know. The logistics were mind boggling once I figured it out. When I was a kid, I was able to suspend disbelief because I didn't know any better. But once I was older, and I just feel like in terms of like the whole franchise, there's always moments like, what? Like, how does this? You guys are just like piecing things together. You guys are just assuming people are not gonna ask questions,
It's like every time I crack up when I watch a news report, like this guy's from LA, and they cut to like a shot in Cerritos, and went, I mean, I guess technically that is kind of correct, but that's not really.
No, but for real.
And this is also not just the introduction of Johnny, but and his Cobra Kai buds, but also Allie Mills, Elizabeth Shue.
Mhm.
And I guess luckily if I was also crushing on Tammy Tomato, I was also clearly crushing on Elizabeth Shue.
No, man, like the first Karate Kids, they always knew how to like cast like the love interest. Like it was always like Elizabeth Shue. Oh man, like one of my top like 80s crushes. Like even though like I was like 10 years younger or whatever. Like she was just like, I was just like, I hope I meet my Elizabeth Shue sometime. Like.
Here's the thing about this opening stuff at the beach is that it's like honestly up until when Johnny and them show up, Daniel looks like he's doing fine.
He does seem like he's doing, and he's like he's not like a snotty kid.
No,
He's not like a mean kid. Like he seems very like he wants to make friends and be a good guy.
Yeah. So all the stuff he's doing, like he's clearly getting along with Freddy and his buddies, and he's clearly getting along with Allie, and they're kind of connecting. And then Cobra Kai shows up.
Yeah.
and Johnny just aggro bro destroys the whole day for him. And like it's one of those things where it's like it makes sense where Daniel's kind of frustration starts coming from, because it's like if you look at how his day was, and then you see how Johnny treats him with his buddies, immediately you lose complete like faith in yourself and distrust on everyone else. Because like I said, that fucking Freddy really gutted.
Traitor.
Well, and I think the important thing with the beach like fight is that he's standing up for someone else.
Yeah.
He's not trying to show off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he sees someone who's being aggro for no reason,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Hey, stop it!" And everyone's like, "Well, whoa, calm down." He's like, "No, this guy needs to be told to stop it."
Right.
And then he gets beat, and that's always like such a down moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then even one of Allie's friends is like, "Oh, just leave him. Let's go." You know, it's
Right.
like, yeah, I get that instinct where it's like, we got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he needed someone to help him. So
Right.
I'm also on the fuck Freddy train. His friend who brought him there just abandons him.
A lot of kids in Reseda were, I'm pretty sure, like in the 80s,
Mhm.
kids are all hopped up on cocaine. That's what they got. That's why they're super aggro. Like,
It was cocaine in the form of kung fu taught by an angry Vietnam vet.
Yeah, no, like, look, if there's any non-surprise to me would be the reveal of also the Cobra Kai kids were snorting coke in high school. I was like, wait, no, yes, clearly.
we're going to the beach. Yeah.
Sniff.
It's 3 hours by bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there just
You guys
in time for the
ready?
beach to close at night. Yeah. But yeah, we see Miyagi too before this.
Yes, it's true.
And it's a classic the moment. He's
Mhm.
trying to catch a fly with chopsticks.
Yeah.
This is like the moment that's been parodied and repeated and shown over and over again.
It's such a there's a lot of talk when you're like kind of when you're learning about screenwriting is that like sometimes there should be a talk of like how do you introduce your character, you know, and like the importance of how you introduce your character can sometimes also like signify like that's the character. That's like it's important because it should be like that's who if this character has any importance, like the audience should have a good idea of who they should be expecting or what they should be intrigued by. If they just come and go, hello, hi, my name is Hiroyuki Miyagi.
Yeah.
How's your day going? I'm here to fix you. Yeah, lame. But if he's perfectly introduced in this film, along with Pat's immediately, you know, fascinating performance, then immediately you're like, I need to know more about that guy. Whoever this dude is, I need to know more about him. You know. Later. I always remember that delivery. But also it's interesting that Daniel doesn't really tell his mom immediately what's happening, and I think that's kind of goes back to sort of this unspoken truth about being bullied. Is you don't really know if you can tell people about it, and you don't know if it's like shameful or it's or you can handle it, or you're worried about it making it worse. I think there is some truth of that in the movie in terms of dealing with bullies, and then not sure when, you know, like when do you ever speak up, and will the adults even help you even if you do speak up? You know, will that only escalate? And that's a sad truth. And so Daniel mostly just like underplays it. Oh, I fell. You know, that's how I got this. That's how I got this bruise, ma. You know, it's like no.
Oh yeah, he's wearing the
But
sunglasses.
I feel that
yeah.
like, you know, like if in the movie, if Daniel was straight up with his mom straight off the bat, like I feel his mom would have been like, you know, she would have victim shamed him.
Yeah.
Like, be like, what?
No,
like,
true.
Mom, I got beat up at school. And then his mom would have just been like, what did you do? Why?
Right.
Like, you know, be one of those.
No, I don't think you're off.
'Cause she was dealing with a lot with the new job
Mhm.
and the move. She would have just been like, "Why can't my son be normal?" You know, like it would have been one of those.
What? Okay. What is her new job?
Computers and such. Right, Mitch?
I remember it was like she was moving to be like an assistant or something. I want to say she was like an assistant and like she was learning something. I don't know exactly what her job was. That was never clear. That's why throughout the whole movie it's like my mom moved across the country for a new job. What does she do? I don't know. Like,
Like, I heard computers in the recent viewing of this movie, and it's the best we got. It's just some sort of computer job.
It definitely, yeah. I heard them say computers, but then I think there's the scene where they're at the restaurant across the street from Cobra Kai, and the way that scene played, I was thinking, did the mom get a part-time job at the restaurant?
There's a little bit of that, isn't there?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know if computers didn't work out or if it just was not enough money right away, so that she had to get a second part-time waitressing job. It was one of those things where it's part of the, like, it seems like it's kind of a crucial part of the plot, because it's like, why did they move from New Jersey to California?
Yeah.
for the pool, Andrew.
Yeah, for the pool. I guess that was the most important thing.
You know, the most like smart assy thing he said concerning like the move to me is when his mom's like, look at the palm trees. You know what the palm trees mean? Yeah, a lot of coconuts. Which I'm like, what fucking coconuts are you talking about, LaRusso?
City boy don't know anything about the ocean.
Well, and I think the movie's also doing, he's, you know, a fish out of water. Like, he's a New Jersey boy and he's in California.
Mm-hmm.
But then also with training for the karate, he's also a fish out of water.
Right.
Because he doesn't have a dojo. He hasn't formally trained.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know, you know, how it works. So it is like they're doubly removing him from comfort.
He's underdogging underdogs. He's a double underdog.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also perhaps to explain, like, well, obviously he's the best. He just has never been here before. He would win the All Valley Championship every year. He just was never here.
I do want to point out, like, let's go to the scene of him going to Cobra Kai for the first time.
Yeah.
And like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna check out that dojo. I need it because he claims he knows some karate.
He was watching it on TV.
Yeah, and reading it in a book.
Yeah.
You know, Miyagi literally is going, oh, learn karate from book. You know? And so he figured, okay, well, clearly this air quote training's not working. I got to go to a real dojo. So he tries out Cobra Kai. And, you know, this is where we meet John Kreese. And Kreese is just mega intense, mega just aggressive. And all the dreams dash away the moment he realizes his top student is the guy who beat him up at the beach.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of what it's like. What I do like. This is one of the things I do like about the movie structure is that it keeps building on more challenges for him. Where it's like, okay, like there's a group of kids who probably will be going to my school and they've already treated me like shit. Okay, I'm gonna fight back. Ah, shit. The guy, literally the one place I can learn to be fighting back. That piece of shit is also running the class. Fuck. So he kind of creates these walls that Daniel sort of like has to like figure out or just wonder if he will ever climb over. So he's constantly pivoting away from really telling the truth to his mom. Probably because what Mitch said. I'm not gonna lie. There's some truth to that as well.
Yeah.
But also trying to figure out like what do I do now? But even though he does know that like he sort of can't really like completely submit to Johnny and his crew, he does still show a little fight here and there. It's just he knows that like they do outnumber him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like that bit with the teacher.
Right.
Where he was trying to like swerve them to talking to him so that they don't beat him up at school. And then they all pretend like, oh, we gotta go. And then the teacher's like, oh, well, so you can talk to me. I can talk to you. And he's like, oh, okay.
I think, I also like the way that there are more than once, like you're describing, there's the one scene in particular where Daniel's just riding his bike and they just come up on him and push him off the side of the road.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is like a more accurate, like bullying is just like, you're just out having your life. It's sometimes you see it in movies where it's like, oh, well, he kind of provoked them, or, oh, he was in their way. And it's like, no, he was just living his life.
Yeah.
And they sought him out. They were like, oh, there he is. Let's go get him.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that sucked. And that's one of the big moments where he like throws his bike in the dumpster.
Yeah.
But Miyagi hears the whole thing. He
Yeah.
fixes the bike, and that's where he's like, maybe I can help this kid.
I really love that series of sequences. It's mostly what people may not realize. It's a oneer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's shot on a steady cam. Something that to go back to Rocky, that is one of the biggest elements that like Avildsen really took from doing the first Rocky, was like really working with a steady cam, and that's why Rocky has so many of like the great steady cam shots. And here I realize like it's one of those things where it's like, it's not showy off. It's not a big show off use of the steady camera in a oneer, but it does allow like you to sort of live in that moment with Daniel and his mom. And I love how the camera sort of like stops at the door to reveal Miyagi realizing, oh, he heard the whole thing. And I think he's been sort of slowly aware of that. One of the things I want to point out, what people may not realize, unless you haven't rewatched it a bunch of times, is that there is a friendship growing between Miyagi and Daniel well before the training.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the big scenes is him teaching him how to cut a bonsai tree.
Yeah.
And then you see there's a later scene of just them doing that after school.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're already bonding as just as a kid and an adult friend
and a maintenance man
and
who lives in your apartment building
that we all wish we had.
Yeah.
But it's showcasing like, oh, this friendship doesn't start with the training. This friendship has already been slowly building as Daniel is trying to figure out how to, as you say, live his life.
Yeah. The Halloween party is great.
Yes.
I love everything about it.
Absolutely. Well, because Miyagi helps him with the costume.
Miyagi helps him with the costume because he's trying to hide from the bullies.
We're trying to hide.
Yeah. He's like, what am I gonna be? The Invisible Man? And then there he is in the shower curtain.
I mean, I've seen people do the shower curtain costume.
You've seen people do the shower curtain
have seen
costume?
people do it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are they?
I have too.
Where have you seen people do the shower costume, Mitch?
I just randomly in Halloween, people figure out, like they get it's usually like PVC piping, and then they just make the halo, and then they add a curtain.
It's such a smart one to do because it's like, if you're an 80s person, you'd be, oh, like, but you'll get it. It's like either you're a shower curtain or the deeper reference is Karate Kid. I've seen it, yeah, for sure.
And that's he gets to have a little private in the shower dance with Allie. It's like, okay, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's when he's in the bathroom and he realizes Johnny's there. And all the Cobra Kai guys are skeletons, which I'm like, that's funny to me just watching it, because it's like, well, of course, these guys have no identity unless they're together. So they're just like, yeah, we're all skeletons. We're all skeletons. Everyone's a skeleton. Skeleton. Got it. Like they're so used to all wearing the same, outfit. They're just like, yes, of course. We are all skeletons.
Yeah, that's pretty much like, I feel like Johnny would have been like, I'm gonna be a skeleton, and everyone was just like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like it's one of those. I'm gonna be a skeleton too.
We'll be skeleton bros.
If Johnny's a skeleton, I guess that's cool.
But then, yes, Johnny is. He has weed. He has a little weed
He's
cigarette.
rolling up a
rolling
little,
up a little joint.
little jointy joint at the school party. The chutzpah of him doing it at a school function in school grounds.
Yeah.
But it's the 80s.
I mean, as someone who participates in cannabis often, I can understand why Johnny wanted to beat freaking Daniel LaRusso's ass. Like,
because he was like yeah, he like put the pose on over Johnny's stall and like totally like wedded him, and to be clear, his stash.
Yeah.
it's like that's my like I understand like Johnny was a rich kid, you know, but still he had to purchase it somehow. He had to do some shady dealings in high school. He probably met some guy like
He was trading
some guy in a van, on the beach.
Yeah.
I want to
probably
know.
Venice.
That's a character that we should have met in Cobra Kai.
Johnny's dealer.
Johnny's high school
Johnny's
dealer.
Damn.
It was like what they don't tell you. It was Mr. Miyagi.
Right behind the bonsai.
It's like,
Dude, that would change the movie so much, because if you think about it, like it would just be like Mr. Miyagi pitting these high school kids against each other.
it's like Yojimbo.
It's like, that's the kid that lives in my apartment complex, and that's the kid I sell weed to. I don't know.
It's like, you remember that scene in freaking like Grandma's Boy where Kevin Nealon's character is just going off, and then Dante's like, man, who do you get your stuff from? Well, from you, Dante. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's fine.
But,
And then that would
yeah.
explain Mr. Miyagi is selling him more weed. He's like, you have to chill out, Johnny. But unfortunately, the weed is making him aggressive.
Yeah, that's, I think your weed is laced, Johnny.
Oh my god. So this does leads into like the really big confrontation.
Yes, this is where Miyagi has to fight the Cobra Kai kids. Yeah.
Now it's I want to put a pin on this.
Mm-hmm.
This scene is showing a grown man fight teenagers, but at least these teenagers are around the same height and
yes.
strength.
So Daniel is meant to be 17. I think
Yeah.
we can assume most of the other Cobra Kai kids are in that range,
Right,
16 to 17. I don't know if
Yeah.
we got an 18-year-old in there.
Yeah, there's a
Ralph-
couple adults.
Yeah, Ralph
People that can be
Macchio.
tried as adults.
Yeah.
Right. Machio was, what, 24, 26?
Yeah, probably when he was filming this.
Yeah. So
Now here's the thing. Like, I forgot. Didn't he say like Batman saved him or something?
he
Or
said Spider-Man.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's where I'm gonna go super nerdy, which shock of shocks. See, when I see a Japanese martial artist fight a bunch of skeleton men, my brain jokingly went, well, if Miyagi like is at least aware, he probably would have said, no, not Spider-Man, Kamen Rider, because Kamen Rider fought skeleton bad guys that look just like the Cobra Kai dudes.
You know?
If there's a small part of my brain which I would rewrite that one line, not Spider-Man, Kamen Rider.
And Daniel LaRusso would have been like, what? What is...
He's a Kaizo Ningen.
He would just point to a poster.
Yeah,
He would just have a poster.
little vinyl toys. Yeah. I got really into that, even though I was adult.
In the Miyagi dojo, there's just like a bunch of figures in a glass case next to the founding father pictures. You know, like,
Shimpo Miyagi, and of course, Kamen Rider. Anyway.
And I think
so
there's
yeah,
also...
Mr. Miyagi starts beating on high schoolers.
Yeah, he starts beating the shit out of high schoolers. And, part of this scene, I think, right, it's meant to be like funny almost, because it's like this old man is able to defeat 5 high schoolers.
Right. And like really, really beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Let's be really clear. Partially funny, a little bit impressive because he's kind of going really fast too.
mhm.
You know, Mitch, was you saying something?
No, I was gonna say, but the high schoolers provoked it. Like
Yes.
Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Miyagi gave them every opportunity to de-escalate,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "No, let's commit a hate crime," and then they got
there was
and then they
one,
got their asses beat.
there was one kid.
Oh yeah.
There's always one kid
Uh-huh.
who's always like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't do this." Like this is like that one kid who's like, "Hey, maybe it's a little. Maybe we're probably pushing it a little
Johnny,
bit."
let's go.
Yeah.
Like,
I forgot which one he is, but I always kind of figured he's the one that's like the nicer one.
There's as the series goes on, there's always one.
Yeah,
In
there's
all the
always
sequels,
one.
There's always the one guy who's like, we already beat him, and then whoever the bully is in that movie is like, not enough.
Just to really sell how evil they
Yes. So they all run off,
Mhm.
and then Miyagi has the plan of he's going to take Daniel to the Cobra Kai dojo,
Yeah.
and try and sort this out.
Because he's initially,
Mhm.
Daniel was like, maybe you can train me. And Miyagi's like, no. Let's just talk to their master and we'll clean, we'll just talk to each other like grown adults. Boy, what a mistake Miyagi didn't know he was making. Because when he comes in, we really get a full dose of just how messed up Kreese really is.
Mhm.
And I don't know is this the scene where he goes like, nah, bad student, bad teacher, or is that a little bit
I
later?
think that's later.
Yeah.
But it's a big confrontation.
Yeah.
And it's where basically the rest of the movie is set up.
Right.
The idea that in order to stop all of this, that Daniel will fight in the All Valley Championship,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll stop them from beating him up for a couple of months. Like the Miyagi's like, well, you were gonna get beat up anyway.
Might as well do it in tournament.
Yeah.
no, I just like how that's the solution that Mr. Miyagi settles on. He's like, you know what? We don't need to talk to counselors or teachers or even law enforcement. I'm gonna teach you how to beat everybody else's ass. That's what he settles on. It's like,
And you know what? I think he settled on that after just talking to Kreese for more than 3 seconds. He realized like, oh fuck this guy.
it's like this guy is now my enemy, and I'm gonna train this kid to destroy him.
You know what? I was trying to do this I was trying to do the high road, but man, I want this guy to get his ass kicked.
I'm gonna show his students that my student is better, and that's amazing.
And I'm going to train my student in less time than he's trained his students, and my student will be better.
You have to figure Miyagi has met people like Kreese before.
Oh yeah.
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 Like that's the vibe that I got, where he's like, oh great, like the only way that this guy's gonna understand is through force. And
Right.
he's like, and I don't want to. He's like, I don't want to have to go through all this. Fine. Well, okay, we'll do. This is the terms of our deal. You know,
Right.
That's how it goes.
Right. So we go into what is arguably part of the reason this movie really just kind of like surprised everyone and really made it such a popular film is the untraditional training that Miyagi does to LaRusso.
Mhm.
You know, and starting with wax on, wax
Wax
off?
on, wax off.
There we
That's
go.
the
Yeah,
one.
wax on, wax off, and then it was paint the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Side to side,
Yes, I decided
Yeah.
up and down,
up and down.
up, down.
And then Daniel gets angry,
Mhm.
justifiably.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, "What the hell, Mr. Miyagi? You're just treating me as
As hell.
slave labor, as free labor."
No, here's the thing. This is what's great about the whole trading stuff, right? Is that like it does just come off as like 3 to 4 days of Miyagi just forcing Daniel to do house chores.
And it's like, and Miyagi, this is his little retreat. Like this is
Yeah.
like he does not live at the apartment complex
No,
where
no,
he's
no.
the maintenance man. He has like behind a train track, he has like a little secret house and secret garden and secret repair shop where he's
Yeah.
got like 5 custom like
Vintage-
classic cars.
Yeah, classic cars.
Like, Mr. Miyagi, you've been selling a lot of weed. To afford all of
Miyagi,
this.
where'd you get all these cars? Weed, Daniel-san. Lots of cannabis.
I have a very good side business.
Daniel's like, the bonsai? It's like, no.
No, not the bonsai.
Behind the bonsai.
The weeds
In the back.
The weeds in the bonsai.
Whoa.
I grew a very good marijuana, Daniel-san.
None of this should be surprising anybody. This is my new headcanon.
I like it. It's I love all Miyagi backstory. It's truly like I couldn't get enough. I think that's why I like part 2 so
No,
much.
sure. Finding out there's like mild Yakuza ties to his backstory.
Yeah.
Finding out he was like in a love triangle and he had to leave the country. It's like, holy shit.
Mr. Miyagi, you've lived a very full life up to this point.
But yeah, do we want to get to the big scene with his
Yeah.
backstory too in this?
Well,
because
let's just get to the big kind of like the payoff to all this
Yeah.
house chores.
Mhm.
And here's the thing: it's this is where I feel like this is the strength of kind of like doing a build up to this structure wise is that like you watch for like 10-15 minutes, you see Daniel do all this. What the fuck is this? And you think he was, and you maybe the first time you watch this, you might think, did he get tricked into just doing a bunch of house chores by this old guy? Until the day where, just Daniel is like, I am fucking done with this. This is such bullshit. And that scene where Miyagi basically tells him, okay, do this. And like, it's the whole structure of like showing him, show me this thing. No. Or as he does, hey. and you see that like what, you see him do all the stuff that he's been training, but he's now put in context of blocking.
The movements are
Mhm.
the same. Mhm.
And like
Can-
it, go ahead.
Can we just talk about so Daniel does all of this like free work, right? And then he has this meltdown. He's like, "You're not teaching me anything. What am I doing?" Right? Like, can we just talk about like Mr. Miyagi has the conscious decision? Is like, this is where I attack him now.
Right when he's at his lowest and he's at his most untrusting of me, I will now attack him.
Yeah, and that's what he does. He's just like, show me this. And then he straight up goes full force, right? And then Daniel's able to like, muscle memory, and he does it, and he's just like, what? And then Mr. Miyagi's like, yeah, you're good. Like, see?
It's part of me is also wondering, like, because I watch all these other Karate Kid related things concerning Miyagi, is that like, is this the Miyagi? Is this the heart of Miyagi training?
Just surprise attacks.
Make you do random things and then surprise attack you, and it turns out all those random things
are part of the process.
Yeah.
It's still great though, like, cause like that final bit of him showing me this, show me this, show me this, and then just him dead eye staring at Daniel going, and then he just goes full on like Mitch said, and Daniel does all of it perfectly, and then Miyagi's like, all right, good. I probably just watch that on a day I just need to be peppy. And I went, I'm gonna just watch that scene.
No, but like character wise, Daniel-san was probably feeling so empowered, right?
Yeah.
Because in his head, he's like, I saw this dude beat up like 5 kids on Halloween, and now I can handle myself. Like.
Oh my god. Let's go into the big scene though, Andrew.
Yeah.
Like this is to me, this is the moment where the film goes, okay, it's fun sports stuff, untraditional training, yada yada yada, and then the heart of learning more about Miyagi. And this is the scene where, if anything, it's like, if you're a person who watched Morita before Karate Kid and you remember him, the stand-up comedian work that he did, or you actually were
Happy Days.
You remember him as Arthur, right?
Arnold.
Arnold, my bad. Yeah.
And you later find out Arnold is not his real name. He just took the name because it was already called Arnold's Diner.
Which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
That, like, you think, oh, Morita is a funny guy. You know, one of the things I wanted to bring up is that, like, originally when they were trying to cast for this film, the studio was like thinking, oh, let's get Mifune. Let's get Toshiro Mifune, which I totally get. Like, Toshiro Mifune is quite literally like the famous Japanese actor, legendary because of his work with Kurosawa. I totally understand why they thought, let's get Mifune.
It's fascinating to think about what his career would have been like if all the American productions did get him. Star Wars, and this.
But I think they got the audition with Morita because, like, they figured, oh, let's give Pat a try, and then he does his audition, and the director was like, oh no, that's it. And so I think, you know, again, if you bring in like your kind of baggage of watching, you know, like Happy Days, and he's playing Arnold and what, etc. Again, this is that classic case of comedian actor going, hey, by the way, motherfuckers, I can act.
Yep.
Because this scene is, yeah. Like Mitch, what did you want? If there's something you want to say about this particular scene?
No, it just really humanizes who Mr. Miyagi is, you know, like it really it just makes him a complete character, because like I feel up until this point you're still like, oh, it's just this handyman that lives in Reseda, right? Like
yeah.
And then he decides to like pick this kid up, but then you realize like his character, there's a lot of parallels between him and Daniel, right? Like this is where you see where their friendship comes from, because Miyagi sees a lot of himself in Daniel, right? Like, and it just gives him more of a backstory, because like in the movie as Daniel, you know, like you don't know anything about this man, and then when you find out like, oh, this guy's been through a lot, right? Like you know, there's just more of an understanding that comes from, you know, Daniel's side, you know, like he gets like, oh, this dude has gone through a lot. He's been here. He's practically alone, right? Like, because like we don't really see any interactions with Mr. Miyagi and any other adults other than like Kreese, right?
Yeah.
And then like maybe later on in the movie, like Daniel's mom, right? So this dude has been living solitary, collecting cars, you know, like just like he's been alone, and then like you really see like a lot of it was by choice, you know, like I guess you can assume a lot of it is by choice, right?
Yeah.
And then there comes this like random kid who gets him to open up again, you know, or like just to relieve or relive some of those feelings that this like Miyagi has probably pushed down or tried to forget, you know. So I thought that, you know, like in terms of like storytelling, like I thought that was a really it was a really interesting choice for them to go with, especially during, you know, like the 80s, where a lot of characters during this time, you know, they were the butts of jokes, you know. You had your long duck dongs, you had your you know, your whatever, and so this was a little more it was a character with a lot more substance, you know. It wasn't the traditional like Asian that knows martial arts. Like he actually is a human being underneath that all. So I thought that was like in hindsight, like that was a really good example, you know. Like it just showed you know, like for the time, it was like I feel it was groundbreaking.
Yes, agreed.
I also think something that comes through in that scene and kind of in bits and pieces throughout the movie is it's not afraid to the Karate Kid is not afraid to showcase kind of the failures of America. Like John Kreese is the way he is because of Vietnam.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
what happened to Miyagi is, you know, the internment camp. Like
Right.
it's truly like putting a spotlight, like making it part of the story, the things that have the kind of like the parts of history that people want to gloss over.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is look at how it affects people.
Yeah.
Like, and it really affects them in different ways. I was really shocked by that. I mean, I guess it only makes sense coming from the Rocky guy. Like he's like very like down to earth, real, like very
Mhm.
grounded. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's what shocked me the most on this watch, where I was realizing like, oh, this is really putting a spotlight on things and not making them the whole focus, but it's just like, no, remember this. Remember that this happened in America.
No, learning about like, it's also one of the few like real mainstream points at the Japanese internment camps at the 442nd Infantry Regiment, which I feel like that's still a movie waiting to be happen easily. And the fact that, you know, like, again, putting the spotlight on the tragedy of what, you know, what they did to Asian Americans, and pointing out the fact that like they put them in their own camps, and Miyagi lost everything while trying to serve the country. Like Mitch said, like it kind of makes sense that he kind of decided, I'm just gonna sort of self-isolate. You know, it does make you wonder how many friends he had if he had any in Reseda, maybe short of guys he makes deals with cars, or, you know, his drug dealing, and but shows that like, yeah, like it's like understandable after this. It's like, why would, you know, like you would kind of understand why he is what he decided to become, and just sort of live a very quiet life in Reseda, you know. And yeah, like Marita is so like heartbreaking in the scene, you know, like he's drunk and he's emotional, and like you get a little bit of his kind of Arnold like kind of laugh at one point, but like it dissolves into him remembering the letter he got about his wife and child's passing, you know. And again, it humanizes him. It turns him from, oh, the silly guy, into this silly guy who's training Daniel martial arts in a very untraditional way, into like Mitch said, you know, someone who Danny can realize is, fuck, this guy had a life, you know, and the fact he's helping me only adds to my respect for him, you know. And I loved how he just sort of tucks him into bed, you know, and yeah, that scene always gets me, always gets me. He also, then we kind of do get the progression of Daniel and Allie's relationship in the film. And again, Allie, we find out, did date Johnny.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's and you know, Johnny being completely you know, very, you know, again, aggro bro about it. Though again, funny, if you watch the Cobra Kai show, they create a new layer of context in their relationship. So it's still Johnny's in the wrong. But you saw that, like, well, no, there was clearly a honeymoon period with them, that like their relationship was like great until Allie starts seeing all the really bullshitty aggro shit that Johnny's doing, and then cuts it off.
Yeah.
And you can see in the scenes here, like Johnny is like trying to get back to the honeymoon period, and Allie's like, nope, not interested. You're a piece of shit. You know? One of the big ones is, of course, like the big birthday gift. Like that was like one of the big things that happens to Daniel is Daniel's 18th birthday.
Oh, right.
He gets the car.
The car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think him and didn't like was him and Allie like right before that though, like they kind of had a bit of a falling out.
There was the progression there. They go to golf and stuff.
Of course, golf. Of course, golf and
Yeah.
stuff.
But they're having like a good time. But then isn't he sees? It's
Yeah,
like
they
the
run
country
into
club.
they run into the Johnny and his crew, and like and then like she notices like you know, like LaRusso is like, oh yeah, let's go. You know, like he's a little aggro too. And she
Yeah.
sees a little of the stuff that she didn't like seeing from Johnny. And that's kind of like where it's like, oh, you learn your karate, and then now, you know, like you're gonna be like him, you know, you're
Mhm.
just turning into him. And that's where they're kind of like where she's like she finds a little like she finds it a little distasteful because
Yeah.
like she knows what that's about, and so she doesn't want to see the guy she's into now being into it, you know,
Right.
like
Mhm.
And there's also kind of like a big, and we won't go too much, but there's also this other big scene of like, um, of like there's a big kind of gala event that Allie and her parents are at, and Johnny's there, and Daniel's trying to connect with Allie there, but then Johnny notices that Daniel's there and then tries to lay in a kiss in Allie, just so that again in that really gross like I see you and now I'm gonna try to go for a kiss
Mhm.
to upset Daniel, and of course it's that classic no one talks to each other dramatic moment where Allie can't speak for
Yeah.
herself to say that's not what happened. Actually, I do want to point out a little bit of an earlier scene before the golf and stuff scene. I think it's very important to talk about like the classism that's in the movie,
Mhm.
and it's the scene where Daniel's mom with Daniel picks up Allie at their place.
Oh, right. And, the car
and the
is
car
prone
not
to
work-
breaking down, so
And-
of course it breaks down right then.
And here's the thing, right? It's like Lucille, Daniel's mom, is a fucking sweetheart. You know, like she's super nice, and she's trying to make a joke of it and trying to reassure Allie's parents, like, "Don't worry, it happens all the time." But to Daniel, in his eyes, it's like we're just showing. The more this happens, just shows how poor we are, and how much Allie's parents probably don't respect me, and that's the thing that will always nag Daniel for a lot of the movie, especially like because Johnny is a rich kid. That how can I be good enough for Allie if I can't even afford, and if our family can't even afford certain things? And of course, at the end of the day, Allie doesn't give a shit about that.
Mhm.
She just likes
Yeah.
him. He won't. He's a
Mhm.
teen. He won't get that yet. You know. I think we just come to the tournament.
The tournament.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
The All Valley.
Yeah.
Now they have to do a little hand waviness when they sign them up for the tournament, where they have to like steal a black belt or whatever, right?
They have to steal a black belt and lie. This is actually my favorite realization upon the later viewings of the movie, is realizing Miyagi is completely winging this.
Yeah, I was thinking when he was signing them up, I was like, wait a second. So they never had to like establish that they were a dojo and be a part of this thing before today?
They had to lie. Yeah, they didn't do it. Apparently, yeah, like that. Like all today is Miyagi realizing, oh, we need that. Oh shit.
He's like, yeah, he's a black belt.
I thought my student was just gonna come in and wreck stuff. Like,
like my favorite sort of mild detail of showing that like how long Allie was with Johnny is because they're going in, they give him the belt, and they're walking to like probably Daniel's first match, and then Daniel goes like, okay, so what do we do? And Miyagi's like, oh. I thought you'd done this before. I fought. I just never done a tournament. I don't know what any. And so immediately, because Allie goes like, okay, so this is what's gonna happen. Blah 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 blah. You get this point, and that is such kind of smart writing because it shows like she was with Johnny for a while.
Mhm.
She had to learn this when she was in Johnny, and because she was in a relationship with Johnny, so she knows all the tournament rules and everything. We have not talked a lot about the soundtrack.
Oh my god. I think there's a hit song for every scene in this movie.
Like the Conti score is great.
Uh-huh.
I've always, loved the Bill Conti score, but my God, the actual track list you said is, I don't know. I love almost every one of these. I've almost loved throughout my life. Like right here in
the
this
montage,
sequence, what's
the
that?
montage music,
Montage?
the montage music.
Yeah. Moment of truth.
You're the best around.
You're the best
or what-
around.
Oh yeah.
That's which this sequence is completely cut to.
Which is such a because right before that song starts playing, doesn't Allie or someone say, "You're the best"?
Yes.
And then it starts, "You're the best."
That's one of those movies. Like if it was a Family Guy moment, like it'd be like, that he did the thing.
It's one of those where I don't know the history of how a lot of the the music was made for the movie. But I do know that part of it, like a very regular thing they would do back in the 80s for sure is like they would show a cut of a film to a bunch of like musicians and a bunch of artists, and they go, all right, we just need songs for the soundtrack, and all of them would submit and go, okay, here's my pitch, and so I can't help but looking at Joe Esposito, he see that scene and went, got it. Once he heard Ali say, you're the best, and he's like, I figured it out.
That's a fantastic for me. Say that again.
Say that again. Fantastic Four stick. But yeah, no, I think You're the Best is probably my personal favorite.
It's fun. Yeah.
One of the songs, fun note, one of the songs that was very much in like the film Cruel Summer from Bananarama.
Oh, right.
For some reason actually couldn't be on the official soundtrack.
Huh.
Even though it's so very prominent in the movie.
Yes.
And so I can imagine buying the vinyl and going, "The fuck is the Banana Rama?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's all good. It's all. Mitch, do you have a personal like track you can think of that's not?
You're the best. That's the one.
Straight
that's
up,
the one
fair
for
enough.
me. That's yeah. Whenever I think of Karate Kid, I just think like you're the best around.
The Moment of Truth is a like a second place winner for me, and that's kind of like a surpriser, like the Moment of Truth. Shockingly, no Eye of the Tiger. Some people think it's in this movie too, and no, your brain's
well, just because the same band or whatever did the
Survivor
Moment.
also did Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Incorrect. No Eye of the Tiger here.
They should do a Rocky Karate Kid crossover.
There's a part of me that does and doesn't want that.
Creed should meet whoever's on Cobra Kai.
It's like yeah, Adonis should team up.
It just turns into an MMA fight between LaRusso and Rocky Balboa. Like,
but I think they can't do that because they reference Rocky as a movie in Cobra Kai.
Well, they would just say, well, obviously the movie's based on the real event.
Fair, touche.
Yeah.
You're right. That's fair. Fair enough. That's true. That's your out.
Based on a true story.
So this is the karate tournament.
Yeah.
You know, and it's there's a lot going on here, and the progressions of okay, Cobra Kai's doing this, Johnny's doing this, Danny's doing this, and etc. I
don't know if the point system is how these really work, but I think it's a smart way for a movie to do it.
No, I think that's a good way to track it.
Yeah.
Like okay, that's the progression. Yeah, I have no clue. I was never in a karate tournament myself.
I think I took one class when I was 10 years old, and that was all I did.
Let's get this out of the way. Mitch, did you take a karate class?
I did. Taekwondo. I took Taekwondo. I did one tournament. I placed first in forms.
Oh, nice.
And then for sparring, I placed. I got a bronze medal. I got a 3 out of 3 because there was only 3 people in my weight division. So
wait, when was this?
This was like sophomore, junior year of high school.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So but sparring, like no one had trained me for sparring. I did not have a Mr. Miyagi, and I got hit with a liver. I got hit with a liver shot, and I went down.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was but it was fine. It was fine. I was okay, but I didn't know that liver shots existed until I got hit in it.
Damn.
Like it just made me take a knee. I was just like, "Oh, that hurt."
I took one karate class, or 2 karate classes, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to do it anymore because I hate to say it, because my sensei was a white guy, and my brain went, no, that's the bad guy. I was like probably like 8 or 9 when I took those classes, but I remember just looking at the teacher, and I'm like, and I'm sure he was a nice guy, but I'm like, no, No, he's Cobra Kai.
He's Cobra Kai.
I shouldn't be training under Cobra Kai. And so I kind of like, I got up to yellow and that was it. I think I did stick around to be up a yellow belt, but like, but I'm like, no. I'm like, no, I don't want to train under Cobra Kai anymore.
So the tournament progresses. Of course, Daniel keeps progressing.
Yeah.
And we have the it's the semifinalists.
Right.
So it's Daniel versus Bobby. And then Johnny
Bobby's the nice
some,
one.
Some guy.
Bobby's the one who's usually like, hey, leave him alone.
Yeah.
You know?
But then he is told
sweep the leg.
But Grease.
Oh, yeah, no.
Grease is like, yeah, this is it. You got to take him out.
And so,
what?
Go ahead.
Was I the only one? Like back in the day, like I didn't understand it. I was like, I didn't like. I always heard "sweet" with a T. Sweep the leg.
Sweet the leg.
And like, yeah, and I was like, why? I guess, like in my head, I was like, oh, I get it. He's trying to like, like do something dirty. And I was like, sweep the leg. And then when I got older, I was like, sweep. I get it. I mean, that makes so much more sense.
I think I can see that. I hate to say it though, I did not hear it like that though, Mitch. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I always knew it as sweep the leg for sure. But yeah, and that's the move here. It's like this is like Kreese is tactical.
Oh yeah,
here because it's if you
is that military crap coming in.
He's like, this will make sure that Daniel cannot fight against Johnny, and then Johnny will just win.
Yeah.
And that also kind of shows Kreese is scared. He's like, oh shit, they're doing it. And then poor little Bobby gets disqualified. He doesn't even, it's just like,
and you see
dishonor.
The immediate regret he had.
Yeah, he starts screaming that he's sorry.
He's like, Johnny, no, Daniel, I'm sorry. And you kind of realize because he's been the only one who's like, fuck, are we going to? He is that guy in that Mitchell and Webb sketch, realizing like, are we the baddies? And I hate to tell it to you, Bobby, you are. This kind of goes into now Daniel kind of in like the locker room, and the doctors are telling him he probably shouldn't be doing it. He's out, he's done. And there's again another really great scene of him and Miyagi. And one thing we kind of skipped over was earlier we saw the, as they call it, the pain suppression technique, as some people call it, that Miyagi like slapped his hands really hard, and you hear a thunder almost, and like
Miyagi has magic abilities. Yeah. I can't. There's no other way to
magic
say this.
Heat hands, and and here's the thing:
Miyagi is Jesus. What? No,
hey.
Did we ever see him drink water?
I can't confirm nor deny that what he was drinking that night while in depression was not of his own making. Yeah. So there's the great thing about the scene, because here's the keep in mind, is the director of Rocky. Maybe it will end with like something like this, but Daniel does kind of lay. I think that's not the message of this movie. The message of this movie is like, I have to stand up to the bullies, and this only proves that they won. And it is okay. So we know what happens actually, but I want to tell you like one of my big insider cutscene jokes is I've always thought about doing this as like a fake storyboard. Is like after he says the line, Miyagi kind of like stares down and then dramatically looks up. He's like, "Do you want Miyagi to kill Dojo?" Cut to like all the bodies of the Cobra Kai.
It's just everybody just laid out,
and just him just like crease his head on his hands.
He just turns into John Wick.
Yeah. You want Miyagi to kill Dojo?
There is if you're living in today's age and you watch all the Karate Kid movies in a row, there is a point where you will reach, like I did, where you realize if any character had a gun, this would just be over. Like, sure, every Karate Kid is so focused on
karate,
hand-to-hand combat that even as we love. We're gonna talk. We keep talking about 2, but in 2 there's the Yakuza ties. None of those guys have guns in 2. Then you get to 3, and you have a slimy businessman. Why is he not surrounded by guys with guns?
Yeah, this is a. I can't stick too long on 3, even though I could talk about the wildness of 3. Is that Terry Silver is a villain from like a Lethal Weapon movie, who's decided I will be the bad guy to this 19-year-old.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna mess up this high schooler's life. No, but you're totally right, Adric. Because like even in the Cobra Kai series, like when stuff is going down, I'm like, where are these karate brawls in the valley happening? Where no one's busting out like a knife or a chain or nothing. It's just like, we're gonna settle this with violence, but not that much violence.
It's like, all right, fine, we'll fight. Someone breaks the bottle. What are you doing? No.
Whoa.
Put that down. We gotta do this the All Valley way.
You gotta fight with honor in the valley.
The hot hands
fixes Daniels
enough.
And they do the final match with Johnny. And of course, this all leads into actually sweep the leg, Johnny. And the infamous line that most folks will remember is that one dude in the back going, "Put him in a body bag."
That just escalates things to another level, though. Like, whoa, hold on. I thought this was a friendly tournament.
Not for that dude.
Get him, Johnny.
Like this, like imagine that other Cobra guy, like that same Bobby was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, body bag, dude?" He's like, "No, because we're gonna fucking kill him, dude. We have class tomorrow."
You know what that reminds me of though? Like, have you ever seen? It's like a UFC fight, right? Like, and then there's one guy, and then he's just like, grab his dick and twist it. Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about?
No, oh my god.
Okay, so this is a video. Okay, like look this up. It's a joke, but like these guys are at like a UFC fight, and like there's one guy, he has a selfie, right? And he's like, "Yeah, we kill him," right? And then there's a dude behind him, and he's just like, "Yeah, grab his dick and twist it." And then the dude holding the camera is just like, "Oh my god." Like, I'm gonna find this for you.
That's funny.
I'm gonna find this and send this to you guys.
And Johnny does fight dirty.
Yes.
He hits his leg where he's been injured to try and hurt him more. He gets a couple of warnings. But then it all comes down to the do they call it, the crane pose or something?
Crane kick.
Crane kick.
Yeah.
Which we saw Daniel training earlier doing this pose.
Mm-hmm. And he learned it because he saw Miyagi doing it on top of like what do you call that on the beach?
Just a rock or the pier or
the
something?
pier, yeah.
Yeah, the stump.
The stump.
Yeah.
Fun fact. So the guy who created the crane move was a Filipino guy.
That's right. Mabuhay.
His last name was Vidal. And I only know this because one of my friends, like his little brother went to Cal State Fullerton, and he was like roommates with the son of the guy who created that. And they said that they needed a move because they were trying a bunch of stuff and nothing was looking good on camera.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy who created the move, he's one of the opponents in the tournament.
Yeah, he actually fought Johnny right before.
Oh.
Yeah.
He fought Johnny right before. So it's like Daryl Vidal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Daryl Vidal. So he created so he's in the movie, and they were trying to figure out what to do for the climax, and what they were doing just wasn't popping on camera.
Yeah.
And so Daryl Vidal stepped in. He's like, "Hey, maybe this can work." And they tried it out, and they ended up liking it, and so they incorporated it into the movie. So he was uncredited with creating the move, But yeah, it was a Filipino guy that like set that up.
See, okay, that's cool. And like then again, it's again, I know a lot of actual martial artists who watch this movie.
Mhm.
I've heard the amount of times I've heard like stories of like the inaccuracies of certain movies from people in the actual fields, including like sports movies. And like, I know like I have a good friend whose brother is a legitimate karate like expert, and he said like the whole like eyes always look eyes, like he's like no one's done that. Or this scene here, the crane kick, which everyone's like the crane kick, the modern equivalent, like the 90s equivalent of the crane kick probably would have been the flying V in the Mighty Ducks.
Right.
Yeah.
And but here's the thing is like, who gives a shit? It's a movie, and part of that deal is that like it looked like Mitch, like you bring up such a good point about this, it just looks good. Even if you did a realistic fight, a realistic kick, it's a fucking movie. We need something to visualize that Daniel's trying something very untraditional, but will win because and I think it works because it's like Daniel's training is untraditional. So the signifying finishing move that he does should feel like a culmination of the training that he had with Miyagi. And that includes something untraditional that Johnny wouldn't expect coming. So when he sees him put his arms up beyond his 1 foot, Johnny's looking at it going, the fuck is this? Yeah. And that's what
Johnny's like, easy. This guy's done in a second.
Yeah. And then it takes him out, you know.
But it makes sense though, because like, you know, his leg was messed up, right? So he had to favor one side and figure something out.
Right.
Like, how is he going to overcome like a messed up leg? And you know, it made sense for the movie.
100%, yeah. And again, it's just very cinematic. The crane kick pose is just a cinematic move to sort of know. So shout out to Daryl Vidal for, you know, coming up with such a iconic thing. Whenever people talk about Karate Kid, most folks will do the crane kick or look like they'll try to do the crane kick.
Yeah.
You know? Daniel wins. He gets the trophy from Johnny.
From Johnny, yeah. Johnny is like congratulating him.
Yeah. Johnny's telling him, you're all right, LaRusso.
Because even Johnny in that moment of Kreese telling him to fight dirty doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, that's the sign of Johnny. There's still hope for Johnny.
Yeah.
That the kid might not be fully bad. When the moment when he's like, wait, that's even the moment when Johnny goes, wait, that's going too far. You know, it went too far.
Yeah.
But then the movie just ends as soon as he wins.
And he ends, and it's perfect because the final shot of the movie is this, which is now a GIF for so many people, of just Miyagi smiling and nodding and the freeze frame. Dun, 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 dun. Movie over.
Yeah.
I wanted to experience that look. I want some older Asian man to look at me approvingly and be like, "Good job, good job, Mitch."
And if you, listener, want Mitch to be that Asian man looking at you like that, again, DM him after the show, and
I will teach you how to crane kick. We'll learn it on both legs, guys, just so you know. So,
I feel like
just in case.
the next time I see you, Mitch, I'm just going to ask you to just give me the Miyagi nod, and I'll just film it for my personal.
No, but going back to the crane kick, you know how iconic that is?
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
Because I remember, like, not like in a good way, but also in like a bad way. Because like anytime I was growing up, like when people would find out, like, oh, I took martial arts or something, you know, like they would always strike the crane pose to like mock me, you know, like that's you know karate, and then it would be the crane pose, and I'm like, yeah.
And you're like, no, it's taekwondo, and then you fucking kick them.
Yeah, and I'd be like, no, that doesn't work. That's just for the movies, and then it would be a kick straight to the nards.
And that's Karate Kid, 1984, and yeah, like obviously the movie did great, and you know, here's the thing, like Mitch, you and me are like we're the guys who grew up with the movie, so we have a fondness and nostalgia for it. Matt, but Andrew, it sounded like you found like some new things to appreciate about it in this viewing.
Yeah, I was really taken by, you know, the grounded storytelling. There was no. I was expecting it to be cheesier, and I think that's more for the sequels.
Yes, it is.
It's very like, realistic in the unrealistic way that movies are. It felt, I was like, oh, I'm really, right from the beginning, you said even the opening is just them driving across America, and you just get little character moments, and that's throughout the whole movie is just little character moments.
Yeah,
Just very nice little. Oh yeah, and and they go to the Halloween party, and oh yep, him and Miyagi are just doing some bonsai together, and oh yeah, he's going on a date with Allie, and it's like things that don't always add directly to the plot, but it's like you're building out these characters and having little moments, and I was like, this is nice. And then even though the way it's shot really well, like it looks nice, and it's just like this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Have people heard of this? It's a good movie.
Y'all should watch this if you haven't seen this yet. All right.
It really made the valley look more cooler than it actually is.
I feel like I want to talk to you guys about like the rest of the Karate Kid movies, but we can't quite go too much into those. We're gonna take a break though. It's gonna be 2010, and another young boy will be trained in a martial arts, despite the title not quite matching what he's being trained in. But let's take a break, and we'll come back to that. Oh, and take your jacket off, please.
Oh no!
Check it off. Check it on.
To all who come to this happy podcast, welcome.
Animusings are your musings.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future.
Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Kayla.
And if it wasn't readily apparent from that, we're huge nerds about Disney. That's why we're doing the Animusings podcast.
Once a month, we'll sit down and talk about a film in detail from the Walt Disney Animation Studios filmography, covering them in chronological order, from Snow White to Moana and beyond.
To Moana and beyond!
Sweetie, we're not doing Pixar yet. We'll do that after.
And that's gonna be a long time coming. Anyway, if that sounds up your alley, come join Kayla and I, and maybe a guest or two, as we explore the Disney animated canon, film by film.
With the hope that it'll be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.
Ooh, nicely said.
Don't thank me, thank Walt.
All right, we're in the middle of the All Valley Championship, and it's time for your Patreon advertisement. Woo! Check it out. Here's what you can hear on Patreon this month. Fight.
Yeah.
And they have the Halloween scene, the scene where Miyagi saves Daniel, except it's this kid saving the old guy.
I loved this.
I was like, holy shit, they're doing a flip. The kid's Miyagi. I was losing my mind. I was like, this is the smartest thing I've seen a movie do like this.
No, there was a part of me that was like, this is the movie.
Yeah.
Why do we need to have Lee do a different tournament? This is the movie. The martial arts kid is... Ladies and gentlemen, that was your Patreon promo. Next up, if you're only $1 a month for your Patreon support, you will be able to get access to that episode and many more. Also, if you pay $25 a month, you can get to control the show and you can tell us what to cover. Again, I bring this up as an option a lot because I think some of our really best episodes do come from this $25 extra charge. I've always bring up King Kong, I always bring up Power Rangers, etc., etc. The Christmas Carol episode last year we did is because of someone did a Patreon. Paid for that Patreon for that month. So again, really stress if you want to, you can control the show for one episode, and that's the way you do it. Just pay us, then you can get that. We still have so much Disney we still haven't covered. Do you realize that? You can do that.
Yeah.
There's still classic remakes we haven't touched yet.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell us to jump the gun and talk about Scarface right now. But until then, $1 a month, all we ask if you want to be a patron supporter. Before we move on to the next match, Mitch, where can the people find you on social media and your other works that you have out there?
Well, I'm on Instagram and Threads at Mitch Narito. Um, I post whatever projects I'm working on, whatever shows I got going on. I usually post on those two things. Yeah, so yeah, check it out. Come find me.
And I don't know, this episode, Andrew, will be out June, right?
Yeah, it'll be out mid-June.
Mid-June. And just curious, have anything coming up in end of June or July, like a show-wise or a stand-up?
I'm going to be going out to Mic Drop Comedy in Arizona on the 22nd. So I'll be out there doing Ubi World with Mikey Perry and Eric Esteban, all Filipino comedy lineup. If anyone's in Arizona that listens to this show, come by, say hello. And then July, I will be with a lot of other people in San Diego for Comic-Con.
That's true. Very, very true. All right.
Oh, he's heating up the hands. He's heating up the hands.
All right.
Oh, whoa.
Whoa. Here we go. It is 2010. And a very, very, one of the biggest movie stars in the world decided that, hey, I think it's time for me to help my kid get a franchise.
Yeah.
And so in 2010, they released The Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan.
Mm-hmm.
Though there's a mild hiccup here.
What's that? It couldn't be anything related to the title.
Oh, I hate to bring it up.
They're just doing karate again, right?
Well, that's the thing. Andrew, here's the truth. They are not doing karate.
That's a choice.
I'm just gonna rip this Band-Aid. I hate it so much. Okay. This is the problem I had in 2010. This is the problem I have in 2025. This movie is called The Karate Kid purely because of the fact it's an IP and they just don't know how to sell it. They didn't have the guts to even try a slightly different title.
Yeah.
They wanted people to buy tickets to a movie called The Karate Kid in 2010, and even though, despite the fact that it's culturally insensitive, they went ahead and did it anyway. Because the martial arts that's being trained in this film and the martial art that Jackie Chan is a specialist on is Kung Fu.
Wasn't I was just reading this where it's like in China and everyone it had local names. Like they didn't call it Karate Kid over there.
I hope not. Here's the thing. There is some truth to the fact that at one point the film was under like a to be determined title while in production. And I heard that names like the Kung Fu Kid, which would have been simple and fine. The title that I heard float around and I feel like is just more interesting was the Shaolin Kid. Because I think that's more evocative and and more truthful to the kind of martial arts that Jaden was being trained in. But then, they went, no one's going to know what those words are, is essentially what I'm assuming the studio head went. And so, but everyone knows Karate Kid.
They forget that hit film Shaolin Soccer.
They forget that Jackie is famous for literally anything but karate. This is what bothers me the most. I remember when I was in college, I read a Jackie Chan autobiography.
I have that same book.
You do too? Okay.
I am Jackie Chan.
I am Jackie Chan.
Wow.
And I read it at the Cypress Library, FYI. So one of the stories I remember him saying is that he was doing tours for either Cannonball Run or Battle Creek Brawl, one of the two big Hollywood films he was in. And when he was doing like the late night show circuit, every single interview started with him going, so how long have you learned karate? And Jackie would always go, no, I know Kung Fu. I don't know karate. I know Kung Fu. And he had to do that every time. And you can tell this is part of the book because it was bothering him. It's like, crap. we are like, I'm in the lead. I'm doing Hollywood films, but I've still got a long way to go for anyone to start kind of respecting the culture I'm a part of. And so by this point, he's a respected global star in 2000, for sure, definitely by 2010. The fact that like a movie like this and they slap karate on it just feels like a fucking slap to the things he was trying to work away from. And he's been doing like a very successful job. No one assumes Jackie knows karate. Everyone gets, okay, it's at least a Chinese form of martial arts. But by 2010, here's this big studio film that he's literally in the poster, and the words "The Karate Kid" are right above him. And I can't help but feel a little frustrated about that.
It's Jerry Weintraub was the producer who said no to calling it the Kung Fu Kid. So that's
well, Jerry.
Put all our hate on Jerry.
Well, Jerry, go. You and Freddie can go fuck off. I'm not done with you, Freddie.
I did just double check. It was called the Kung Fu Dream.
That was
in
one title.
China.
Oh, Kung Fu Dream. Okay.
And in Japan and South Korea, they went with Best Kid, which is what the original was called in those countries.
It's almost like in Japan, it was like, we know what karate is.
Yeah.
But is he
in Mexico is El Mejor Niño.
He's the best kid around.
Yeah, it is absurd to me that they would go ahead with just calling it the Karate Kid just because of the IP, even though he's doing kung fu. You've got Jackie Chan in the movie. No one cares about Jaden Smith. They care about Jackie Chan. We're here to see Jackie Chan teach his ways to the kid.
There is a literal scene. I'm jumping ahead, but there is a literal scene where Jaden is talking to his mom, played by
Taraji P. Henson.
Taraji P. Henson, and she's going, "Oh, don't you want to go back to that karate class?" And I quote Jaden in the movie, "Mom, that's not karate, that's kung fu. It's in your movie."
Justin's head just exploded.
Yeah. You have to. Also, side note, I actually remember I watched this movie at a special screening back in 2010. I kid you not, at the VC screening, at a visual communication screening, which is an Asian American organization. Yeah, Mitch. I watched it with Earl. And we both walked out of the theater. Here's some truth, and I will give you my updated thoughts on the movie in a minute. But at the time, because I was so vitriolly angry about it, the title.
Yeah.
My feelings of the film was pretty low. But when me and Earl walked out of the theater, like Earl and me looked at each other, went, okay, that's actually better than we thought it was going to be. Now, 15 years later, I have other thoughts. Though there are things I will personally admit, there are things I do like about the movie. But I've sort of changed my mind or feel differently about other elements. But that's just giving you a heads up of what I'm feeling at the moment. Mitch, I'm just curious, your thoughts on any of this before we proceed to the actual kind of nuts and bolts of the film.
So, I was a big fan of the original franchise. I even liked the Hilary Swank Karate Kids, right? I was pretty easy when it came to this. I'm just like, give me a good story, give me some decent fighting, I will be happy with that. And yeah, when I watched it, I was like, Karate Kid in China, this is not right. But I'll bite, sure. I was like, I'll bite. I'll see, I'll see how they tie this in. And they kind of did like a slapdash kind of explanation of why they're there and stuff.
Is it for computers? Does she have a job with computers?
She can have
they
computers.
didn't even say the word computers.
But compared to because I just saw Legends, Karate Kid Legends.
Yeah.
And in the first five, did you guys see that? I know it's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of like but like
We
the
did.
first 5 minutes of the first 5 minutes of that movie, they explain like what the connection is. I was like, that makes way more sense. They should have done something more like that. Like instead of like going the whole movie and then just be like, yeah, so this is how it's connected. It's like
Yeah.
ah, um, but like overall, like I thought it's a fine movie. It's not my favorite of the franchise, by any means, but it does an okay job, like
Yeah.
it has a lot of the same elements that made me love the original stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, overall, like like Jackie Chan is still one of my all-time greats.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself helps redeem a lot of the other stuff. I'm willing to look past it because like, like Jackie Chan, like if like I've been watching Jackie Chan since I was like 5 or 6, right?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
so I've seen some really bad Jackie Chan movies.
As have I.
And that's why I'm like I've sat through some stinkers. So
Yeah.
this is not like it could have been a lot worse. So it's fine. It's fine.
I do want to point out, like, there's I'm with you on that, Mitch. I've watched him since I was a kid too, and like there's so many
Yeah.
as many as for every Drunken Master 2, I get like a really terrible like
Yeah.
in a Hong Kong produced, not an American one, Jackie
Yeah.
film. And one of the things I noticed around the mid 2000s is that Jackie Chan was started to like try to show that he's more than a martial arts comedy guy. So in Hong Kong, his Hong Kong productions, he was trying to showcase a lot of drama. But
Yeah, that was bad.
that was bad.
Jackie,
It
it
was
was bad.
It was real bad, and part of it was the biggest issue is that he would do a big dramatic scene in the middle of what is still essentially is a goofy comedy action film,
Mm-hmm.
but he would throw
Yeah.
like, look at me acting, look how good I am, and I'm like, Jackie, the movie is called Robin B. Hood. It's three men and a baby, but with martial arts. What are you doing?
Yeah. No, there's been like a handful of Jackie Chan movies where it's like, someone close to him in the movie dies, or
Yeah.
his girlfriend or wife gets kidnapped, and then he has to put tears,
Yeah.
and it's just like, Jackie, you've never been able to do tears the right way. Like you just always look a little goofy. Like
Yeah, especially in the context of the movie where it's like, this doesn't match. This is to be honest, it's a very Filipino movie thing I might want to add, where we like, especially if you watch a lot of my uncle's films, is that like there's high comedy equals as high drama, and that'll happen within a scene.
Wow.
Like, and then a musical number.
Oh.
yeah. And
It's a full
and Jackie
meal.
Chan also sings in like a lot of like
Yeah.
like if
He sings his
there's
theme
he has a
song
lot
or
of
end credit song.
soundtracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will say that Jackie's performance here, well, no, it's hard. He just can't compete with Pat.
And oh my god.
But I think he's good here. This is probably one of his
He's
better.
good. I don't know what they did to him visually.
Mhm.
The little like mustache he had, I was like, oh. It's like, why did he make I think he was trying to look like Pat
Yes,
Morita.
100%.
I'm like, I feel like that's the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, I mean, at the time this came out and it's just a straight ahead remake.
Yes.
It is, there's no, I don't think even the evil Jerry Weintraub did not think in his head, well, I'm going to wrap this around and make it secretly a sequel.
No.
This is a remake. It follows the beats very closely.
Yeah.
Like the big changes are, we're now, instead of moving across the country, they move to China.
Yeah.
Another big change is instead of a 17-year-old, he's 12. 12.
I sort of,
And he looks 12 because he is 12.
I'm going to put a point on that in a minute. I do want to point out, even though hilariously we've talked a little bit too much about Karate Kid Part 2.
Yeah.
I think because there is this element of him moving to another country and he develops a relationship with a girl from that country.
Yes.
There's a smidge of Karate Kid Part 2 in here. Not a ton, just a cultural element of, because he's got to learn a new culture while he's here, and he connects to a girl who's from this culture. But let's attack this. I get it. He's a kid, but does he need to be 12? And the answer is, well, Well, Jaden's 12.
That's the only reason why he's actually 12. It's all 12-year-olds now instead of 17-year-olds.
Can I unpin this now?
Yeah.
So the fight between
Yeah.
Han. Okay.
When Jackie Chan, his character's name is
Mr.
Mr.
Han. Yeah.
Yes.
When he has to defend Jaden, I don't even know what Jaden's character's name is, but Dre. When he has to defend Dre from the bullies,
Yeah.
that scene is like, I was like, uh-oh.
How are we doing this scene? Because again, as I've unpinned this, Pat is at least, again, fighting possibly 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But also, he's like a little shorter than actually some of those guys.
And the visual, I don't know how old Pat Morita actually was in that movie, but the visual is that he's like 70. Like the visual is that he's like actually really old.
Yeah, and he's fighting like really like athletic young men.
Yeah.
So
you look at like both of them have their kind of handicaps where it's like, okay, yes, he knows karate better, but he's old.
Right.
And these are like, well, they're new at karate, but they're young and spry.
Right.
Feels like an almost
it evens out,
yeah.
But when Han is fighting 12-year-olds,
yeah.
And granted,
he's my hero.
Mitch, explain.
Dude, how do we get myself okay at my age at a solid 40 right now? If we could make a short film or a movie where I do nothing but beat up on little kids, and I should I would feel super powerful.
I'll make that movie with you. I will watch that movie. I will make and watch that movie.
Dude, let us like the younger the better. Like if there's a first grader that's acting up, best believe I'm gonna freaking crank kick that son of a bitch.
We'll develop.
That's what it was. No, but that's what it was though. Like it was. It's just like this is a grown man. This is and the only this is messed up of me. I feel, but like in my head, I'm just like, it's China. I think they could get away with it.
Oh no. I think it's funny because as the fight goes on, you see Jackie Chan changes from the Mr. Han's fighting style is like he's defensive, and then he starts like disabling them with their jackets and stuff, which is like really funny because he's like I can't keep beating up these kids. I gotta tie them up in their own jackets, I guess.
It's like I can't actually hit the children.
Yeah.
But what I can do is make them hit each other,
right? By
creating a very Jackie Chan way of doing it. It's a scene that still bothers me because I just feel like it doesn't make sense and it's awkward for me. Despite even if the choreography is strong, I'm like, no, this is still Jackie Chan beating up on 12-year-olds.
I would have, what I would have totally bought? Like, let's say like those scenes start, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the middle, the parents come along and they're like, hey, what are you doing to my kid? Right? and then he has to fight actual adults.
That, oh my God, actually the hilarity of that escalation would have been very funny, to be honest.
Yeah. And I mean, they kind of, they tease it too, that he would fight the equivalent of Cobra Kai. What do they call their group is snake something? Dragons? It's not Cobra Kai. But
Cobra, Dragon, Fly.
But he's like the guy who's in charge of that, the equivalent of Kreese, is like we will fight. And Jackie Chan's like, whoa, let's do the tournament.
well, the funny thing is that guy, I recognize him from like one of my all-time favorite like martial art films called Iron Monkey, where he played the title character. Iron Monkey is like essentially a Robin Hood-y figure, who's teamed up with the famous Chinese folklore character Wong Fei Hong, who Jackie Chan would play in Drunken Master and Drunken Master 2. Anyway.
Wait, which wasn't Donnie Yen an Iron Monkey at one point?
Yes, Donnie Yen played Wong Fei Hong's father. So Wong Fei Hong in Iron Monkey is portrayed as, funny enough, a 13-year-old. As we're talking about this. But yes, the main Iron Monkey, the main kind of Robin Hood-y figure is played by Mr. Master Lee in the not Cobra Kai dojo. So I want to go let's say Jaden is fine. You know,
Is he?
He's fine. Like I feel you have more to say. Please go ahead. I'm not gonna super defend him, but go ahead.
I think it was exactly the way you described it earlier, where it was like, why? Like Will Smith said, "Well, you're getting a franchise."
Yeah,
and it's like, all right, can he act? You're getting a
franchise.
franchise. That's the answer to that question. And I don't think he's done some creative works, as time has gone on.
yeah.
But I don't know if acting was necessarily his passion or even maybe the best thing for him.
Yeah.
I think you see a lot of this with famous people's children, where they have some issues and weirdness and things going on in their lives, and it's like, oh, they needed help more than they needed to be an actor.
Yeah. Or be in the spotlight.
And so, but even watching this movie, I'm like, yeah, he's not really that good at acting. And then I also don't like this new, if you're doing a straight ahead remake, the kid has to be earnest.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid is cocky.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I think that the heart of a Karate Kid tale is that the kid is earnest.
Yeah.
That he wants to do right, and that he has, even if he's young and stupid, the idea is that he realizes, no, I need to do the right thing. I need to be a good person.
Right.
And this is just like mini Will Smith. Like,
yeah.
They give
ironically.
him, they give him like little cocky lines to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I didn't want any of like, this is not my Karate Kid, I really felt that, where I was like, they're just getting the characterization all wrong.
I also feel like because this movie was made during the height of Hollywood trying to please China, if you ever remember that period, that like this film slightly feels almost like hey, check out China.
They do go to a lot of Chinese landmarks, and they go to the Shishi Festival.
Yeah, Shishi Festival, etc.
Are they training on the Great Wall of China at one point? Is that okay?
They are training on the Great Wall. They are. Yeah, and because of the age thing, I feel like a lot of the stuff just feels weird and doesn't really work, and shifts this narrative in a way that like it should have played it harder that he's a kid, or a preteen. And like here, he has a relationship with Mei Ying, essentially the ally of the film, played by Wen Han. And again, it's like they decide to go for like a romantic thing, which I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this.
I think they do that in the lightest touch, though, because
they
they know that they're 12.
They do, but they should. I just still feel like I was not.
Yeah.
It just didn't. It just felt like I shouldn't have been watching that. And I feel like, or if that's the movie, there's got to be a more lighter, a different touch than the one they try to imply. Because otherwise, like, it just comes off as like, well, we have to do the variations of the beats from the other movie. I was like, well, why that one? I don't know. It's the stuff that like the age thing really affects the retelling of this movie, because it doesn't really feel the same way. And I think the language barrier makes the bully element harder to kind of understand.
Yeah.
I think here's the thing. You could say everything that's shitty about Johnny Lawrence, but you can also understand why Johnny Lawrence is a piece of shit. There's a lot of implied storytelling of like, oh, clearly upbringing, clearly crease, right? And you can see that because he's speaking the same language as LaRusso. Here, it's like, I don't know anything about the kid who's Johnny Lawrence in this movie. I don't know what Chang is his character's name. I don't know why he's angry. I don't know. It's implying that he has a relationship, like some sort of history with Mei Ying, but I don't know what that is. Like, did he like her? Did he not like her? Were they a thing? Were they not a thing? Did they grow up together? But he just despised like an outsider coming in to trying to like why? Why is this kid a bully? I don't know the answer.
And this movie also wants to dance around the race element
Yeah.
that could be
Implied.
implied, where it's like,
It's not really implied. It's like it's pretty evident. It's like, oh, you got a black kid in China. He's different. You know,
Right, yeah,
they do the way that they do it is they do the hair a lot. Everyone wants to touch or look at his hair, his mom's hair.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is like coded racism that is like appeals to someone where it's like, oh, just because we're different. And it's like, they had to deal with that every day of their lives. Like, they are not, you know, they don't want to entertain everyone who's like, can I touch your hair? It's like, that's really not a appropriate thing to ask or to do.
And I think this does stem back from the good old classic issue of, were there any black, besides Will,
Mm-hmm.
is there any black creatives on this movie? And I'm going to tell you right now, the writer and director, definitely not.
No.
The director.
Yeah, the director is, where is he from?
New Zealand.
Yeah.
No, Netherlands. He's from the
Dutch.
Netherlands. He's
Yeah.
Dutch. Yeah. And like his movies, like the movie he made, like his film credits before Karate Kid are Agent Cody Banks.
Yeah.
The Pink Panther 2. Yes, we haven't covered those yet, so I guess if you want to do a Patreon, you can have us. And then immediately after Karate,
Hamburger.
was that?
Oh no.
Oh,
Just
yeah, he's
hamburger.
the way he says hamburger.
Hamburger.
Hamburger, yeah.
The burger. And then the film after Karate Kid quite literally is the Mortal Instruments City of Bones, you know, when we were all trying to do a Twilight. And so
Well, and it's funny because Harold Zwart, the director, it seems like he's maybe in his own country famous for a film called, I know I'm not pronouncing this correctly, but I'm going to do my best. Lang Flat Baller. He did a trilogy
yes.
of those, which does literally translate to long flat balls.
wow. 3 of those, you say?
Yeah.
So you should see a doctor about that.
The most recent one came out 2022.
They keep doing it. Yeah.
It's like Harold's always like, you know, it's been a while since I got that Karate Kid money. You know what I need to do? And they're a long flat ball film.
It's probably their equivalent of Karate Kid over there.
There is in production right now, Long Flat Balls Legends coming out this year.
All right, Jackie. We like Jackie. I think I wanted to like this movie, and it wasn't doing it.
I think now that it's 15 years later since I initially saw it, and keeping my expectations were so low that I walked out being surprised, like, oh, this is actually better than I thought it was going to be. Now that I've kind of passed that, I'm now on the other side of that going, but still not good.
Mm-hmm.
like it's, and I think a lot of it just comes from like, this just screams we're trying to retrofit a Karate Kid movie around this 12-year-old kid who, I hate to say it because I can view it now with, I was being kind earlier, but the reality is like, yeah, Jaden's not super charismatic. He doesn't really have the draw, and the way they're trying to write him was too much like a baby Will. And a lot of this movie is trying to go follow the beats of the original film. But also because I know the original film too much, it comes off like, well, what did the other one do? Okay, do this instead.
Mm-hmm.
Jacket off, jacket on is the most obvious, like, oh, we have to do the wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
But that's the only time the movie really plays with that. The rest of the other training is almost traditional or like a small spin, but it doesn't have the same payoff as like paint the fence and side to side and etc. Here's the thing: since Jackie hit a certain age, I remember like I was like waiting for the day that like, you know, some point Jackie Chan should play just someone's, you know, mentor, like Sifu, someone's teacher at some point, right? Because that's part of the thing with like the original Drunken Master movie and his first famous film, Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, is that he had Yen Wu Ping's father played his teacher, his Sifu. Very famous, like kind of like wild, like white hair, big white mustache, but goofy mentor character. And everyone at one point figured, oh yeah, we kind of need if Jackie just sort of at some point did a role like that kind of leaned back to the to the co-star that like kind of helped propel him to popularity. And watching this movie, I went, this sadly wasn't that movie. I don't know. I feel like the writing is like they decided to make him even more closed off than Miyagi, which I sort of understand. But because of that, you have a character that takes a bit for you to warm up to as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, his introduction, they do the classic chopsticks and the fly.
Yep, you do.
But then they do the Jackie Chan spin,
mm-hmm.
where he secretly had a fly swatter.
Right.
Which is, I was like, okay, I think, if everything that they do with Miyagi, they make it Jackie Chan style,
mm-hmm.
that would be good.
Yeah.
But as you guys were talking about, he's like, well, now I get to be dramatic.
Right.
And now I get to have the big
Mm-hmm.
scene where I cry. And it's like, well, come on. I know that's in the original, but can we just kind of like, because it's not going to be the same at all.
100%. Yeah.
Because they have to update it. And there's, I don't know if they didn't want to reference a war or if they just didn't have a good one to reference.
Well,
so
because
they
like Jackie's not the same age, right? Like,
Yeah.
like that's the reality, right?
Mhm.
Like the tragedy that happens to Miyagi is sadly like so unspeakably sad because it's stuff that like the government did,
Mhm.
right? More at the end of the day, like the government put his family there in a place that his family couldn't survive, even though he was fighting for the like. That's so much more like so much more like kind of like a tragedy that just feels like that's unfortunate and like mad. You can be mad with him about it, obviously it's still sad and tragic if like your family dies in a car crash, but for some reason it doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
And I think that is the entire problem of the movie is they want to hit the same beats as the 84 film, but they are lessening the impact with all their current choices by making Daniel. Yeah, go ahead, Mitch. Go ahead, please.
Oh no. Like just going off of like what you're saying, like a lot. I think like one of the elements that really hampered this movie was them trying to introduce like a mystical aspect to everything. Like when Dre goes into the Shaolin Temple or whatever to train, and then like he learns how to do the snake move or he learns how to like deal with a snake, which was like, okay, I get it. But then now you've got like a 12, 13-year-old like going up against like, poisonous snakes.
Right.
And it's like, what? Like what does that have to do with anything? Like he's learning from them. And I get, like Kung Fu, they learned like Kung Fu, like practitioners, they learned how to mimic these animal moves and incorporate them into Kung Fu and stuff. And I see, like, I get that. But then again, it goes back to like, it's supposed to be the Karate Kid, like now this is a whole nother martial art, like this is completely separate, right? Like
Right.
there is that divide, and it's really hard to get past it, like it's just so in your face, it's not subtle, and it's like, okay, so now this is where we're going. Like this is the direction we're trying to go. Like it's was just very like, I don't know. I like it was playing, like you said, it was playing towards like the Chinese audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, whoever was in charge was just like, nope, we got the IP, just make this movie, right? Like,
right.
Like, so.
And it just sort of loses the plot, to a certain degree, and it just lessens the impact of the entire, like by the time we get to their version of the All Valley, it just feels like, I guess,
They don't even have the moment because the alley character is so different. So when they walk in and Mr. Han says, I don't know how this works, and he's reading the book,
right,
and it's like, yeah, there's no other character to be there and be helpful. Like it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, just okay, everything's just a little off, everything's a little bit less than what it should be,
and that's very frustrating about it, because it's like you're trying to do this, trying to do that, and it just comes off as like I don't even know you guys know what you're trying to accomplish, it just misses. Yeah, like it feels like it's missing a big segment, and I don't know how to fix that. Because it's like we made all these big choices.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's in China. Now it's martial. Now it's kung fu, and this and this and that. And it's like, well, what the fuck is this movie then?
They make every big choice, but they still go back to the exact movie that it was before. Like it sounds like they're doing something bold. It's like, we're putting it in a new country, we're doing this, but it's like every story beat is the same.
Yeah.
It really makes nothing new.
Please rate and review Nothing New, a Remake podcast on your podcast app.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NothingNewPod.
You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/nothingnnew.
Nothing New, a Remake podcast, is part of the Benview Network.